What happens over the next 20 years if we continue to remove the idea of God from our schools, our families, and our communities? This is about history and about revelation. See, it starts with the Great Separation. In 1962, the United States Supreme Court decided Engel versus Vitale, ruling that state-led prayer in public schools was actually unconstitutional. Now, 1 year later, in 1963, Abington School District versus Shemp removed Bible readings from classrooms. These were not small decisions. They were civilization turning points. See, for the first time in American history, children were educated in spaces where God was officially silent. This era also gave us the sexual revolution, radical individualism, and moral relativism, replacing moral absolutes. See, Crowley once said, "Do what shall wilt with the whole of the law." That philosophy, once fringe, quietly became mainstream. The result? Children were taught how to think, but not why to be good. And that led us to what we could call the godless generation, which spanned from about 1980 to 2005. And this is where we kind of get the phrase that children raise children. See, the children of the 60s, they became parents in the 80s and 90s. But they had a problem. You cannot teach what you were never given. Church attendance declined. Biblical literacy collapsed. Marriage became optional. Fatherhood became negotiable. By the 1990s, entertainment actually replaced instruction. Screens replaced scripture. And feelings replaced truth. Friedrich Nietzsche said famously, "God is dead, and we have killed him." When Nietzsche predicted culturally, America began living spiritually. The result of this was a generation with no moral anchor, raising children in homes with no eternal reference point. And so, what does the next 20 years actually look like? This is kind of what happens when we believe that man becomes his own God. See, if this trajectory that we've been on for the last 40, 50, 60 years continues, the next 20 years will not be defined by innovation, but in disintegration. Not overnight, but slowly, quietly, and unfortunately, legally. What increases? Well, state authority over conscience. Technology replaces discernment. Identity without biology. Morality defined by power, not truth. What collapses? Family structure, meaningful masculinity and femininity, as well as objective good and evil. People will not reject God angrily. They'll just forget him entirely. As C.S. Lewis warned, the safest road to hell is the gradual one. This is not tyranny by force. It's surrender by comfort. So, where does this all lead us to? What Scripture says comes next is pretty clear. In the book of Revelation, what you got to understand is it does not begin with destruction. It actually begins with deception. They exchanged the truth of God for a lie. See, Revelation describes a unified global system, economic controlled, tied to allegiance, widespread spiritual blindness, and persecution not of criminals, but of the faithful. See, the final warning is not about beasts or numbers. It's about who you worship. Revelation ends with a choice: comfort or conviction, the world or the word, self-rule or Christ's reign. Choose this day whom you will serve. Joshua 24:15. See, this is not about fear-mongering. It's a pattern recognition. History shows what happens when God is removed. Scripture tells us where that road leads. The question is not whether or not this happens. The question is, who will stand when it does?